2024 Vikings schedule has been released, and I'm alongside Viking Entertainment Network's Gabe Henderson and our Vikings analyst Ron Johnson to break it all down. This has become a yearly tradition for us, and I'm excited to get into this 2024 Vikings schedule. So let's pop that up on the screen and take a bird's eye view of how the Vikings start the season. And guys, I want to kind of break this down column by column, third by third. We'll start with weeks 1 through 6. The season opener on the road at the New York Giants and taking on the 49ers in Houston in back-to-back home games. You go on the road to divisional foe Green Bay at the end of September before heading out to London for that international game and getting the week off afterwards. Ron, when you look at that schedule, what are your first impressions of how the Vikings start the year?
Well, as a former player, I'm like, man, the bye is way too early. Like, I wish, like, everybody wants it like 8 or 9 so that you literally have that halfway mark to recover. But going to have to play the Jets in London, I think that's going to be one of their toughest matchups as far as quarterback. We know Brock Purdy in that offense with the 49ers. But the best thing about that is you start the season with the Giants. Nothing against the Giants. I'm not hating on Daniel Jones. But it is a good way to start the season with a team like that versus a team like San Francisco or Houston. You get those guys a little later.
Gabe, what sticks out to you?
Yeah, just the fact that you played 3 out of 5 teams that were in the playoffs last year. I'm just looking at the New York Jets game last year also. I mean, they were a quarterback away from making the playoffs. So the fact that you have the 49ers, the Texans, and the Green Bay Packers, 3 teams that made the playoffs in a span of 3 weeks. When it comes to being battle tested, the Vikings will get that early, especially after the Week 1 game against the New York Giants on the road.
Yeah, it should be an exciting time to see another London game that early in the season. I know a ton of Vikings fans have been waiting for that game. They've been knowing about that one for a while now. But now that we're able to put the schedule all together, let's take a look at the next set of 6 games. This is weeks 7 through 12. So you've got a week to prepare for a Detroit team at home. Then you have Thursday night football, a short week, versus the Rams at SoFi. Then you hit a bit of an AFC South stretch. The Colts at home, 2 road games against Jacksonville, Tennessee. Then you go back on the road end of November at Chicago. Of course, as you can tell, there are 4 of those 6 games in the middle of your season are on the road. Ron, what do you notice from that?
11-24. I think everybody wants to see Caleb Williams. Like, what is this kid going to be? What kind of offenses are the Bears going to have? I mean, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Chicago, 3 road games back to back to back. That is a lot for these guys. And so mentally, you want to go into that stretch with a win over either the Rams or the Lions. I think the Colts is a winnable game, but you kind of want to have that 2-1 going into those 3, because I think all 3 of those on the road are winnable, but it's going to come down to health and who's still available at that moment.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the 2 home games. So only 1 game at US Bank Stadium in the month of October and only 1 home game at US Bank Stadium in the month of November. After that, like, you have all these road games, and those 3, I'm looking at the 4-game stretch right there. The Colts, the Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans, and the Chicago Bears. Those are 4 young quarterbacks. You get 3 of those guys on the road. 4 young quarterbacks in that span. Like, this is a very tricky portion of the schedule because, 1, you're going to be battle tested in the first 6, but once you start looking at this second 6 or the second third of games right here, it's pretty much toss-ups because you got so many young guys right there. So I'm excited to see how this Vikings team will fare coming off that first 6 games after that bye week.
Definitely. Let's move on to weeks 13 through 18. How will the Vikings end the season? At home, 3 games straight. You host Arizona. Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons return to US Bank Stadium. And then you round out the season with an indoors game, thank goodness, Chicago in December. Then you head out to Seattle, and then you host the Green Bay Packers. And obviously, we don't know the date of that final Detroit Lions game. That's on the road at Ford Field. So you're kind of rewarded for doing the whole 4 of the next 6 on the road with 4 of the 6 at home to end the season.
Not only 4 or 6 at home, but the entire month of December is warm for them. Like, Detroit's indoors,
Very true.
Green Bay's at home. Seattle shouldn't be too bad in December. And then you got Chicago at home, you got Atlanta at home, and Arizona. But for me, that December 1st means they're not playing on Thanksgiving. So we actually get to have Thanksgiving with our families.
Nice.
Maybe do some Black Friday
And no
shopping.
Christmas game.
And no Christmas game. Do some Black Friday shopping.
One thing I do know that the Vikings will get is battle tested. When you look at the final 6 games of the year, 4 of those are at home. I really believe if the Vikings can figure out, to pull off a few wins, some tough wins on the road in the middle of the schedule, the end of the year is very favorable for them. And I think, this Kevin O'Connell-led team will be ready with some of these games, especially with Kirk Cousins coming in town. Like, that's the game that everyone has circled But at the end of the day, when you have 4 of 6 to end the season at home, like this is when you're supposed to be playing your best football. So I'm excited.